Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you all about swallowing your pride. This is something that I had to deal with recently over the past 2 days, and I want to just talk to you all about what I experienced and how I handled it, and ultimately what came from it and how I can relate this back to social dancing. So over the past 2 days, I had to deal with a specific individual. We'll call this person Ryan. I'm in the military, and the military is very strict upon respecting rank, meaning if someone ranks higher than you are, to show them the utmost respect, and failure to do so can result in negative consequences. So me and Ryan got off to a very difficult start initially. And for this reason, whenever we interacted, I always felt as if Ryan was bothering me, and I failed to show respect. On two separate occasions, Ryan called me out of uniform regulations, and ultimately, this was 100% my fault. But in those interactions, since I harbored this animosity towards Ryan, and he perceived it as such, he perceived it as a lack of respect, and that's exactly what it was. So since Ryan is a higher ranking individual than myself, he got in contact with my supervisor, who then had to counsel me on my behavior and my actions. I was extremely upset over this. I was very pissed, and I came home yesterday in a very negative mindset, angry not at the world, but at how things were handled. And I felt as if Ryan was being passive aggressive and sending an email instead of confronting me one-on-one and talking to me about this. So I was very upset at him. I was upset at my supervisor, and I pondered on this for a long time, man, in this just stewing in these negative emotions. And I finally came to the conclusion that none of this would have happened had I been adhering to the uniform regulations. I brought all of this upon myself, and I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and I thought about it more, and I realized how this made me feel. And what I was feeling was this so much negativity and like just straight hatred, and it was not good for me. I honestly, when I say, just stewing in those negative feelings, those negative emotions, it was not beneficial for me, man, having these negative thoughts. And so I came to the conclusion that the only way that I could resolve these feelings within myself was to apologize to Ryan. And that was extremely difficult. Extremely difficult, because I was going to have to go talk to Ryan, look him in the eyes, and tell him that I was in the wrong, and that he was right, and that I needed to show him respect. This may sound like a very minor problem to some of you all, but for me it was difficult. I had to swallow my pride and let Ryan know. And so what happened was, I went to Ryan's office. I asked if I could speak with him. He said yes. I told him that I brought this upon myself. I was 100% in the wrong, and that I wanted to apologize, and I hoped that he would accept my apology. What was happening was that I was taking his words too personal. I was taking it very personal, when it wasn't really about me. It was about Ryan held me to a higher standard, and I was failing to meet that standard. And instead of me adhering to those standards, I wanted to lash out. At no point, were was it ever physical. It was just my demeanor and my behavior was not receptive to correction, and I had to constantly remind myself that I am not above reproach. So I asked Ryan if he would forgive me, and he said that he would, and we actually got to talk and we got to chopping it up, and very surprisingly, we got to talking, and he's actually a really good guy. He's actually a really good guy, man. We got to talking and, just talking about his time in the military and the BS that he had to go through himself. Honestly, what really changed for me was that, I don't know if this is proper, if I'm saying this right, but I think I forgave myself, and I definitely forgave Ryan and my supervisor. And once I did that, the dynamic between me and Ryan, it became different. And like I said, we chopped it up, we talked for a little bit. We talked about 30 minutes, honestly. Got to know each other, honestly, differently. And, he told me it takes a big man, and he respects me for coming to apologize to him. And I want to say that how I can translate this to not only social dancing, to maybe other aspects, because what this ultimately boils down to is relationships. And so something that I noticed when I was social dancing with either my dance team or even with some of my exes who were dancers as well, where it's so easy to want to blame somebody else. And that once you blame someone else, the longer it takes for you to maybe apologize or to come to an agreement, the harder it is to ultimately say, I'm sorry, or to come to an agreement. It's like you create this line in the sand, and the longer you wait, the harder it is to cross that line. And that's exactly what I was experiencing. But what I want to say is that, I told you earlier, man, I just felt that I had so much negativity in me, and once I had made up my mind to apologize to Ryan, I felt infinitely better. And so I would say the same thing to you, whatever's going on, if you harbor these negative emotions, if that person did you wrong, I don't think it benefits yourself to harbor those negative emotions, because I think it's like, either anger or envy or jealousy is like drinking poison and then hoping that somebody else gets sick. It makes no sense, man. I really wanted to just make this video, man, hopefully just to get these thoughts out. Like I said, whether it be in social dancing or on life, man, forgiving yourself and forgiving others as quickly as possible. I think it allowed me the chance to move forward, get over these negative feelings, and it ultimately ended in me creating this bond. I see Ryan in a whole new light. Before, it was strictly on site, like negative energy, and I would just avoid him. But now I know tomorrow if I see him, it's nothing but love, and that changes in the span of 30 minutes. But we've been having these issues for the past almost a year now, where I would just avoid him. And all that changed like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions on this topic.
So far.